Hello, today we're going to talk about the concatenate function, and then we're going to talk a bit about nested functions because I can't think of a better time to start that conversation. So I've got a simple worksheet here. I've got a first name and I've got a last name. And now what I want to do is I want to stick those together, kind of the equivalent of what would be addition, but these aren't numbers, they're words. And so if I want to do this, there's a function for that. So it's under the Formulas tab and it's in the text group. The text functions are all used to work with textual data like names and such. So if I want to stick together Kenny and Powers, the function that we're going to use today is called concatenate. So it's a pretty long name. It just means I want to stick two strings or words together. So this is real easy to set up. So text 1. In other words, what do I want to come first? Let's point to A2, tab on down, and then I want the last name. This is not going to turn out well. It's the most interesting I can make it. So basically I'm going to stick together A2 and B2. I click OK, and you can kind of see what happened there, but that wasn't exactly what I wanted. So of course, it's always the case. Whenever you are concatenating together a first and a last name, I'm going to pop open that dialog box again. So there should be a space between the two, so I'm going to manually type a space. When I tab out of the cell, there's a quoted space there. So the quotes just happen. So literally I have to press the space bar to create that space. And now I've got what I was after. I told you the concatenate function wasn't too difficult. It's got a difficult name, but in what it does is not too difficult. Now one of the interesting things about concatenation is that more often than not when you concatenate two words together or more, you get an overflow in the cell. And anytime you've got data overflowing a cell or a column, you should widen that column. So I'm going to auto-fit the column. And now if you notice, I didn't have a bunch of hashtags or pound signs there, which is kind of one of those weird situations you get into in Excel. If there's a number which doesn't fit, it's usually really easy to figure it out. But if there's a word which doesn't fit, you actually need to figure that one out on your own. Alright, so I concatenated A2 with a space and B2. Now, I want to make this look a little better. It's all caps, and so I want to put this in the proper format. So under text, there's a function called proper, and it's essentially I want to apply that. But I want to apply the proper function to that entire cell. And so I'm going to do that using a nested function. Proper is for like a proper noun. So the easiest way to do this is I'm just going to work straight up here in the formula bar. You can see the contents of the formula. So every formula starts with an equal sign. So right between the equal and the C in concatenate, I am going to just type proper, right? Because that's another function. Now every function has its arguments inside of parentheses, so I'm going to open a parenthesis here. And so the argument to the proper function is the entire concatenate function. And so what I've done is I've nested this entire piece right here inside of another function. So one thing nested inside of another, or embedded inside of it, however you want to think about it. If I click OK, you can now see that this is now getting capitalized like a proper noun, which is what proper does, and it's concatenated using the concatenate function. So I've got one function nested inside of another function. Now there's a million situations out there where you're going to nest things together, multiple things, and all of the really complicated stuff in Excel. Most of it involves nested functions. So this is probably the easiest example I can show you, and now you've seen nested functions.